Mount Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Country, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday, from Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first edition of Friday Night Debate in 2024. This is our first edition of Friday Night Debate in the year 2024. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Friday Night Debate, we're going to be looking at three important issues. And that's why our hate speech, free speech, journalism, and of course, we're going to be looking at the protest of the Senate staffers at the Capitol building. What happened? With me to do this, I have Mr. Jerome Gilman. He's the host of On Point. It's a show here every Sunday at 4 p.m. right here on Focus on Liberia. Mr. Gilman, thank you for coming. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Dennis, for having me, and Happy New Year to you and the rest of the crew, Mr. Eastman, and my first time meeting Mr. Wisa. Welcome and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Let me also welcome another co-host on Point, Mr. Jimmy Eastman. He's a regular panelist here and co-host on Point. Mr. Eastman, welcome to the show. Thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy, are you frozen?
No. Oh, sorry about that.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
You are muted.
All right. Let me welcome for the first time on Focus on Liberia, Mr. Ashton Legend Wisa. Mr. Wisa, welcome to the show.
My greatest pleasure.
Thank you. Let's say here, Mr. Wisa, this is his first time. He worked for Power FM 93.9 and also Power TV. He also worked as announcer at Crystal FM 95.5. Mr. Wisa used to do a sport announcer and other things. Mr. Wisa, we are so happy to have you. Welcome for the first time on Focus on Liberia.
My greatest pleasure.
Thank you. We want to welcome all our viewers.
Anything it takes to get our country on its right trajectory will form part of it.
Thank you. Welcome to all our viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia Friday Night Debate. Let me be very transparent. We have some issues in the beginning. That's why we are delayed by 1 hour. But those issues are resolved and we are ready to move on. During the week, we got report that one journalist, because of what he said about a minister in government, was sent to jail, right? That's Sekou Sharif of VOL TV, says certain things about the Commerce Minister, Mwani Diggs, and that landed him in trouble. So we're going to look at that, and based on that's our case study. In this age of citizen journalism and social media platform, the proliferation of social media platform, what is it that we can say or cannot say? What can we say in the interest of reporting news, investigative reporting, and what can be, understood or interpreted as spoiling somebody's name, character assassination, or libel. I don't want to go into the legal side. So and I'm using just that case as a case study. We've seen in Liberia where people say things on the radio and others take them to jail. It happens, right, Jimmy? So, Jimmy, in your understanding with this social media, what can we say as media personnel, and what can we not say that can get us in trouble?
I think that's a brilliant way to start, Mr. Ja. First of all, if you consider the social media as a way of disseminating information, then we fall in the genre of journalists. Now, one thing about there has to be guidelines, ethical standards, and guidelines to how you report. Okay, some of the guidelines you want to adhere to are accuracy, okay, fairness and impartiality, okay, respect for privacy. You want to avoid sensationalism, you know, where you begin to the goal is to inform the public, not to create unnecessary panic and fear. So you don't want to be sensationalistic. You want corrections and accountability. Should be our guidelines, just how they are similarly guidelines in journalism. So if we should say something, we also have to take responsibility for what we say. And if we say something that is libel, that could lead to libel, then of course there are consequences for defamation, providing misleading information, and disrepute about somebody. So it's not because we are free to talk, but we also have to be responsible for everything we say. So that should be our guidelines, even in social media.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Wisse, you work with the radio station in Liberia, a couple of them. And what's your experience? What are the red
Right.
lines?
Well, firstly, a lot of things that are practical in the Western world and they are fluid in the Western world are challenges in Africa, and Liberia is no exception, being the western part of Africa. So, with this said, pertinent to Liberia's history, there's something called the Kamara Abdullah Kamara free
Yeah,
speech. We call the
right.
Table Mountain Declaration, or that thing came into being because in the 1986 Constitution, they tried to make practical freedom of speech, because don't forget, Doe came in 1980 through a revolt. He revolted against a constitutional government, and he considered it to a coup d'etat. So because of those reasons, journalists were becoming more open. But then it was a lot of print media, what we call newspaper writing and magazines writing, and they tried to be, harsh and critical of governments, which were not something common back then. So when the government faded, Ellen came later on, which is like down the line, 2012. Ellen tried to make it practical to endorse the Table Mountain. It did not come to fruition because don't forget, in Liberia, when someone sues, like for instance, a newspaper. My first beat was with a sports journal. Sports journal was a way back then newspaper. If someone sues a newspaper and it's a pretty hefty amount if you sue a media institution or an individual with them. So because of those reasons, those laws, it's kind of conflicting how they were going to deal with that. But now until President we are in May of 2018, that when he enforced and he resubmitted the bill and it was passed and it's been practical laws, at least on the paper it says it. But then we've had a lot of challenges over the year. I don't know, you guys remember my personal friend Zeno Miller. He used to be in the media. We worked at Crystal FM before, and how his death went down. It was pretty mysterious. You saw
Right.
Patrick Hunter, my personal childhood friend, and myself from Machadi. Patrick Hunter was sanctioned a lot of times on bringing his radio station Punch FM until after a lengthy period before the George Weah government, even though they acknowledged the Table Mountain Declaration named after the former president of Liberia, President Kamara Abdullah Kamara, that they were able to acknowledge patriots after going to court a few times before they were able to grant him Punch FM. Today, if you watch with the plethora of media outlets, you will see Punch FM parading on the Liberian news. So I just that goes to say that it's almost impossible with the kind of democracy in Africa where of the three branches, there's not parallel, there's not complete equilibrium, because the executive tend to tend to slide to the executive because they are like not on complete power with the other two branches of government. So it will always be a conflict, it will be a struggle. But fortunately for us, this is the internet's age, and things have changed, and things is gradually changing, and we're beginning to see a lot more transparency because of the internet age. So we'll watch and we'll see, but there's still going to be challenges in Africa, as we know that.
Thank you, Mr. Gaiman. I think Mr. Gaiman, Sekou Sharif actually accused the Commerce Minister of, I will paraphrase it, by not accounting for money that was entrusted to her, and she said, you were crossing the line." I don't know how familiar are you with the story, Mr. Gaiman. You are muted.
Yes, I follow the story keenly. As you know, I am a staunch supporter of the President Weah. I am a defender of the administration, and I am unabashed. So everybody knows where I stand on this particular issue. I think the Commerce Minister is in the wrong. The gentleman accused her of corruption. Since when in Liberia, when we accuse people of corruption, it is now being considered defamatory and slander. I want to know, since when? This woman has been in government from the beginning of this government. President Weah himself has been considered rogue. He has been considered thief. This is corrupt. I mean, this is the age that we live in, and people do have the right to say those things. Do as journalists or as people that have free speech, that have the right to free speech, should they have the data or the return checks? No. In fact, when the U.S. ambassador was being confirmed, McCarthy, on the Hill, he says, one of the main reasons that I want to go to Liberia is not mostly about corruption, but the perception of corruption. So the perception of corruption is very pervasive in our country, and we live with that. We have never persecuted anybody for calling me. You have been on this show, people have accused me of Joe. We are sending me $18,000 per month, $50,000 per month. We have gone through that. We turn around and say the same thing about the white card people back and forth. Nobody have ever gone to jail or been arrested for making these statements. So for Ms. Diggs now, all of a sudden, to say her reputation is on the line and that she's been defamed, to me, this is completely, I want to tell it to my sister that I love so much, this is completely nonsense. And if she's looking for a job in a new government and wanting to say that this particular statement by this young man is going to bar her from getting a job or coming back to Wayne State University, then she's in the wrong, because they have said worse thing about her, about the president, about me, about you, and we have never gone to court. But arresting a journalist for calling you a corrupt person, I think it is beyond the pale.
All right. Let me read something that is on that record. He said, let me read that. So for those of you who may not follow the story, he was sued for criminal coercion, harassment, blackmailing, and disorderly conduct. And what she said is violation of section 14 something of the new penal law of Liberia. the private prosecutor by and through the Republic of Liberia appears before this honorable court and complain on oath of you within the named defendant of the city of Monrovia and says that during the period December 30 to January 4, you defendant with purpose and intent to injure the private prosecutor in her character and subject her to public ridicule, hatred, and to impair her character, business, repute, knowingly and intentionally took to the social media as well as talk show and accused private prosecutrix of being a clean-clothes criminal who has received money from foreign companies in the name of contribution, same to the government, that the defendant between the period mentioned above used the social media to injure private prosecutor character on diverse occasions, sending posts and text messages constantly to the private prosecutor with the intent to create annoyance or alarm, and so on and so on. So, Mr. Gaiman, are you saying you can use the social media to accuse people of all kinds of things without giving proof because that's like normal?
Well, this is what I'm saying. Ms. Dix, as a partisan, we all know exactly what's happening. If you are an administrator and you are going to sue everybody that accuses you, you will never perform your duty. When they say blackmail, okay, the way we understand blackmail, the way I understand blackmail, is by going to Jimmy Eastman and say, Jimmy Eastman, I have something nasty, I have your naked picture. If you don't give me money, I'm going to publish it. That's blackmail. But to say that a person between December 30, that's 5 days, okay? From December to January 4th, he's saying that within those 5 days, this person blackmailed, this person defamed, and Sekou have been on the air for years. Okay, so to me, this is something peculiar, and I think there's more to it than meets the eye. I think
right. He calls her a clean clothes criminal.
Yeah, what we call
money.
Yeah,
what receive money.
Go ahead.
Is that should Sekou be held accountable for saying those things that he can't prove?
No, what the Liberian people say about Stanton Waters when they say it's a white collar crime. He didn't go twisting people arm. It's white collar crime. So the same thing is saying, you are clean clothes, clean clothes, something, whatever that is. The same thing as we say white collar crime. In all, I think Ms. Dix is actually doing the wrong thing here.
Let me offer some pushback to my brother Gaiman. This is not unprecedented. Years back, Chris Toole, who was then the agriculture minister, a similar accusation came out in one of the newspapers, and he sued the journalist and in fact won the case, I think in an amount of $1 million plus, and he was awarded that. What happened in the end, did the gentleman ever pay him? It's not clear. But the fact that this is not unprecedented, that once a journalist makes an accusation, or any one of us make an accusation, we must be able to prove it, or if we are brought up on charges of libel, then we will be responsible for what we say. So it's not the first instance that has happened. Now, I do agree with you that there may be many cases where people simply utter things that are untrue, and it's up to you to say which one you will take to court. But when you have a large platform and when you disseminate information to a broad base of people, your information must be accurate, and you must be able to bear evidence about your information if you're going to disseminate it. That is journalistic ethics.
Thank you.
Let me go ahead, Mr. Wiese.
Yeah, let Wiese go. Mr. Wiese, what you make of this show? Journalists be held accountable for what they say.
What I was going to say to add to this is, there's something when you are when you go to school for mass communication, there is something that is uncommon because every field of study has its own and its own or lingos. So there's something in journalism we say bad news makes good news, and here's how that happens. Say, for instance, if a prominent government official does something and that reporter capitalizes on it and make a very good report and use some flamboyant words in that, like for instance, calling a top government official, hypothetically, Samuel Twe, you look at him calling a white collar criminal. That makes for good news because that's what the people want to hear. They don't want to hear you lowering the effort of a person when they're doing something. They want you to become critical of that person's action, and they want it to reflect in your reportage. They want to reflect in your reporting, whatever it is that you are doing. You be firm, and that's why they have investigative reporters and people who dig behind the news, and they are those are journalists that use very stern words to get their messages out there. So, like I said, where one right ends, another begins. So there's a fine line to walk, but then hey, there are people who are willing to take the risk. I'm sure when a journalist pick up his pen to write a story like that, he knows the ramification. He knows there are implications. He knows that person is going to come in pursuit of him more than likely. But he knows equally so, it makes him to be renowned in his profession, as long as he's doing it with all malice, nothing maliciously done. I give you props for that. That's part of the education that you get from learning journalism.
But show Mr. Sharif show any proof that indeed Mwani Diggs misappropriated some funds? Or he can just say it?
She's not a court. If it's in the court of law, because first of all, if you say, for instance, in a hypothetical scenario, if I wrote against you, I say, Mr. Ja is a very bad gentleman. He talks loosely to his employees. Hey, you are obliged to take me to court, and I'm going to provide my evidence, whether I recorded you with your interaction with your employees. That way, I display my proof. I'm not obliged to show you what the proof is. So yeah, the burden of proof is on her to take him to court, and the lawyer deems it necessary that he provide those evidence. I'm certain he knows a thing or two before coming out with that. Except he's been or he's been utterly disrespectful to her office. But if he's reporting facts, he certainly should have some proof because he's a journalist, and journalist does a lot of digging. Trust me, a lot of digging.
Thank you. And indeed, she took him to court. I think he was arrested. I don't know where the case is now. I learned that he's free. So we don't know what.
No. Last I checked, he was outside. He was outside and celebrating. The last time I checked with that case, he was outside and celebrating. So I know he has his own he has his own arsenal in his backyard. I mean, journalists are people who are thorough. I'm sure he did some investigation before coming out.
And what Mr. Gaiman, what can we? How do we now, as media people, you have your own show on point where you talk. What's your guide? What do you say?
Actually, based on the legal ramification and the explanation of unprotected speech, we are all at risk. And I will read here verbatim what the United States law, which is one of the laws that we usually quote in Liberia. It says here, the categories of unprotected speech according to the U.S. Constitution: obscenity. So if you are going to sue in Liberia for obscenity, someone like Yeke Koluba will not be walking in the street, okay? Child pornography, we all agree onto that. That is not only is it vile, but that's a moral character thing. Defamatory speech, false advertising. So I don't know which one is that. And then one that really caught my attention is the true threat. And then fighting words.
Right.
Fighting.
So defamation, is that what people, you lie on somebody, they say
There
you
you
are
go.
defaming my character.
There you go. And then how many of we have never said Joe Weah is a thief?
Defamation.
Joe Weah is a thief. Joe Weah stole millions of dollars. He looted the country. The government official, Jefferson Koji, looted the country. He's a murderer. We all say these things. What I'm saying here is if we are going by the text, everybody will be dragged into court, especially when it's obscenity. What is obscenity? If you curse at somebody, if you say something to someone that is offensive, that person
Mr. Gamer, you are talk show host. Are you worried?
According to this, according to that, I'm not worried because I don't owe a dime, so they will be wasting their time and money to sue me. But yes, it is something to worry about because we do say these things on the show. We say this. I mean, the objective of our show here is to be provocative, to argue, to say what people want to say. And people say these things. They will say, Mr. Gamer, you support a kleptocratic. I'm talking about even the U.S. congressmen use the word kleptocratic. The people in Liberia, they are kleptocratic. They are this, they are that, and everybody picks it up. So yes, if we are going by the true definition of the word, we all will be in jail every day. Go ahead, sir.
Esther, go ahead, and then Jimmy will conclude.
I was just going to add this. I was just going to add for the sake of clarity, because of our audience, and we throw in the words around because it's my background. Defamation encompasses when you hear people speak about libel and slander. It's just like an umbrella when you say someone is being defamed. It just depends what your person does. So if you write about somebody in a blog or newspaper, we call that libel in journalism. And if you just say it orally, like we are speaking against somebody right now, it could be put on a slander. I was just want to provide that clarity for how people should understand when people say so. Defamation is just a blanket.
Thank you, Jimmy. So what's your guide? What we do here on these platforms?
Again, it's the same ethics of journalism has to provide. It has to, first of all, it has to be accurate. In other words, we should be able to verify the source of the information we're getting, and we must be able to properly attribute information to the source. Defamation is more difficult for public officials and celebrities because the burden of proof is higher. In that case, they have to actually show that there was malice intended, and that is key, because somebody may make a incorrect statement or proposition. However, the defendant or the plaintiff has to establish that malice was intended. That's why the statement was used. So the burden of proof is higher when it comes to celebrities and public officials.
Mr. Jimmy Eastman, before we close on this, let me say something real quick. I remember someone interviewed Bill O'Reilly when he was on Fox, and the same thing. And they say, "Listen, man, you say some of these things, and sometimes they are not factual." And then they went to the other folks, and the guy said, "Listen, just like Costa, he says, listen, I'm not a journalist. I am an opinion." Okay, professional folks on the show. I am here to express my opinion, to bring on people with their opinion. I am not a journalist, so they do not have to hold me to the standard of a journalist. I am not a journalist. I am an opinionated show. So here we are. We are not journalists. I'm a sociologist. I'm not a journalist. So I host a show that is based on opinion. When people come, we say, what is your thoughts? What do you think? What is your opinion? We are not professional journalists to say we will be held at the level of, let's say, Dan
You can lie on somebody with your opinion and you expect to go free.
Well, in my opinion, I would say, Dennis, you are the best looking man on TV. You will be smiling. Other people say, what in that man eye to say the other man good looking? That's how it is. It's my opinion. Am I wrong in my opinion? I could be wrong. Could I be right? I could be right. So there is a difference between an opinionated show, and like the shows like, let's say, CNN, they are more the traditional. And then you go to Fox, they are the new breed of folks who really don't have to. They just when they hear something, they will say in a Liberian parlance, where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And then CNN will come out and say, this is fire, this is how it started, this is there's a big difference. So for us, we are not journalists, we are opinionated shows.
And Elston, let me come to you on this one. In this day of social media, if you can profanity almost like it sells. So people who make their living cursing other people.
Dennis, you're frozen.
Yeah.
How do we operate in this kind of landscape where all the things that journalists not supposed to do, that's what the talk show people are doing, and they are getting all the viewership?
Yeah, don't forget, the word is set up in a way that people's minds are easily driven to some extent. I don't know how it happened, probably subconsciously, but people love some negativity in their lives. Meaning, when people are doing things that are more dramatic, people tend to drift toward those kind of shows. Like you watch these gossip columns, the gossip podcasts, they tend to pull a lot of audience because people like those kind of things. But does that make that like a professional standard broadcasting? I would say no. That's why everyone that tend to profess to be a former reporter or whatever doesn't hold water in terms of leverage when it comes to actual reportage, actual presentation of matters, knowing your do's and your don'ts, because journalism have like the five that were used in the one age. You have to know what to ask somebody, when to ask them, where to ask them, how to ask them, those kind of things. That way you draw a dichotomy between people who are just doing like extraordinary vlogging versus someone who actually has a formal training, and then people who just go on using profanities, or people who just go on say whatever they can on their platform. If you sue them, well, so be it. They go and defend themselves. So yeah, there's a difference, and always going to be a difference between formal training and informal presentation or informal training of a particular field or a particular act, wherever you may.
Yeah, but if I can add quickly, when it comes to the use of profanity, now there's a lot of slack there, because I've seen where artists use profanity and it's considered artistry. And I've seen this during the inauguration of Barack Obama. CeeLo Green song was playing, and the title of his song was "F You." Of course, for certain audiences, he changed it to "Forget You," but the actual song was "F You," and it played throughout the inauguration of the 44th president of the United States. So profanity is opinionated, and for some artists and some celebrity hosts, it could be their style and is accepted in certain corners. A long time ago, you couldn't even say "damn" on a TV or in a public broadcast, but today it's common practice. So there's a lot of leverage there that that artistry is allowed to use in self-expression. So we can't condemn it.
Thank you. That takes me to our second issue here, which is hate speech. Hate speech, and there's a definition for it. Well, let me start by asking Jimmy, what is classified as hate speech? Because there are certain things we say on this social media platform that may be construed as hate speech. What would that be?
In a nutshell, hate speech involves expression that incite violence, discrimination, or prejudice against individuals or a group based on attributes such as race, ethnicity, religion, gender, or other protected characteristics. It often goes beyond the expression of ideas and aims to harm, marginalize, or dehumanize others. So, whenever, if way we could look at hate is you actually trying to do harm to somebody else by your utterances, and it's only based on their race or their religion. None of us born with a choice of race. None of us born with a choice of ethnicity, and even our religion or gender may not be a choice. So when you express, use expressions against somebody simply because of their race, and that tends to dehumanize or put marginalize them, that is considered hate speech, especially if it's going to incite violence against that person.
Thank you. Jerome, is hate speech subjective? Is it based on perception?
Well, yes, to some degree, even though there are a narrow definition of hate speech, and again, I'll go to the U.S. What they consider hate speech, especially in a very narrow sense, and it says here a post for those who do posting that calls certain race violent, okay, or violent animal, or describe people of a sexual or certain sexual orientation as disgusting, like, saying, homosexuals or gay people are disgusting, or Islam or Christianity are disgusting animals, something of that nature. They are very specific on these ones, and they are called hate speech. But anything else that comes about outside of that realm, there's a lot of leverage where we can say is an opinion. But when you start describing people, particularly, and I'm reading here verbatim, where you say how do you call it, QBT people, their lifestyle they are disgusting people, their lifestyle is disgusting and all of that. That's targeting hate speech. Or this particular religion, they are savages. They are very specific in those areas. So his speech could be to some degree perceptional. If you talk to me like some people would say, you talk to me the way you talk to me, I've had a personal experience. For people that talk to people this way, when they talk to people this way, that means they're ready to do harm. Those are personal experiences that have been crossed over into the definition of his speech based on personal experience, which is actually factual. Because that person, let's say, let's look at the terrible thing of rape. Women who have been raped or boys who have been sodomized, some of these people will look at you, look you in the face, and before the guy raped me or before this person raped me, I saw the rage in their eyes. I can look in your face. I see the rage in your face. You look like a rapist. Those are not anything based on fact. It's based on personal fear and experience. So when a person says this person look like a rapist, that person may not be a rapist, but that person may have some characteristic in their feature that reminds that person of their pain and suffering. And all of a sudden, they put that person in that category. A typical example would be a white lady that had been raped or been harmed. When they say the person that raped me was a black person, the first black man the police sees, they arrest that person. That is based on prejudice, not fact, based on the personal experience and not actually law. So it is very, 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 very much.
I want to add to what the brother Gaiman has said. How hate speech can dehumanize people. You see, it's easy to hit somebody when you don't look at them as a person or individual. When you look like them as an object, like you think all black people are terrible, all black people are criminals, all black people are not fully human. This was used to hang black people at will, people could just string them up on a tree in here in the U.S. and lynchings were very common because Black people are not considered human beings. So this is how hate speech dehumanizes people in order for violence to be carried out against them. The whole of Africa was considered savages. All of us were not people. We're not capable of self-rule, even though we had kingdoms and empires way before them. But to dehumanize us so that they can carry out their aggression and exploitation, they use these words. That is why hate speech is so dangerous, because it is used with the intention of taking away the humanity of a person and not allowing people to see them as individuals on equal footing as anyone else.
Thank you. Elston, are there examples that come to mind of hate speech on our social media platforms? And let me give you examples,
Yeah,
like during the elections.
Certainly.
Okay, yeah, give me some examples. Walk me through that.
I was gonna actually tie that in with what we were dealing with, our first subject on the discussion, the whole idea of my one and Dix and General Sharif. Yeah, here's the thing: people tend to use these words because words have connotative and denotative meaning. They have dictionary meaning. They have meaning of interpretations, and words also have multiple. Some words have multiple definitions, and they can tend to branch out in different ways. Look at a word like hate speech, right? When you break it down, it could encompass like gender, negative assumptions against gender, race, you name them. So somebody who is a male writing a story in the case of Sharif versus a lady, a female. Now, if you are not cautious to read the facts that are presented in such case, I'm just giving this as a scenario, you could mistakenly play into her case and watch the feminist standpoint instead of looking at the facts presented or discussed. You could be like, oh, she could throw in the woman card and just say, oh, this guy, because he's a man, he's bashing a female. But then you tend to forget the substantial issue that has been discussed. So you always have to walk a fine line when you discuss something like hate speech, because people use them and then other people misconstrue them. So in terms of example or citing references to hate speech, I would look at something like one gender speaking against another gender. Watch the facts, watch the issue that has been discussed, and don't pay attention to the fact that, oh, it's a lady that is being talked about and she's saying it's a man, so he's being feminist. It could come into play. So we always have to pay attention to what the substantial issue that has been discussed versus the person. I would always say discuss the issue and not the individual. That's what I wanted to add up.
If you look at some generalization, because at the bottom of this whole thing is people try to paint a broad brush on a group, but generalization and hate speech. Let's take, for instance, during our politics, people who are seditious are looked at a certain way, right? How does that border on hate speech if we are not careful of the way we perceive groups in Liberia?
Yeah, not to cut you real quick, and I'm glad you coming to that, because seditions, especially certain segment of the opposition,
Who is calling opposition?
I'm talking about Prince Johnson in particular, where their campaign was based on Southeasterners. Yes, they are talking about Eastern or Southeasterner. Everybody, like he says, if Prince Johnson, Southeasterners should never hold position anymore because they are incapable of leading. They have always suppressed other people. So there was their campaign specific to the Southeast. Everybody, anything from the Southeast. So this is what we're talking about, hate speech. That is hate speech in particular. When you look at a whole group of folks and you say these people should never hold leadership anymore, they should never be in government, they should not be given the opportunity to lead because they are not good at governance, the Southeasterners. So we knew there was a great divide in this going election. And even the people from the Southeast, some people from the Southeast were supporting because they wanted George Weah out of power. They actually agree with that assumption, which is categorically dangerous. And you saw it, everybody saw it. There was something about the Southeast that touches Prince Johnson and the opposition such a wrong way that as far as he is concerned, if he had his way, nobody from the Southeast would ever come to power. And he went naming people, Tubman and all of that went off. Tubman from the Southeast, Dole from the Southeast, Weah from the Southeast, Yipan from the Southeast, the speaker from the South. I mean, just went down that line and said these people from now on, they should never be allowed to come. That is dangerous. So we say say you are a journalist and you were on the ground. Hopefully you can relate to that.
Let me bring another twist before we say come in here. Is we Liberia experienced a war, and in that war, a lot of ethnic groups were targeted. It started with Mano Gio being targeted, or the Ma and the Dan, Crown being targeted, Mandingo being targeted, Lomond being targeted, Grable being targeted, and so on and so forth, right? So if anyone will come up today and justify, for instance, the killing of Mandingo because of what they did, or the killings of Dan and Man because of what they did, or the killings of Crown because of what they did, would that be considered hate speech, Jimmy?
Any speech that dehumanizes another, that takes away the humanity of another person, can be considered hate speech. And this has been commonly used throughout history. It's like I said, it's easy when you will not just look at Dennis Jah and hate him, but by putting him in a category.
Right.
Now that the people who will hate you will not be looking at you as a personal person, someone who is striving for his family, someone who is trying to get the truth out to the public. No, they put you in a category, and that category describes the negatives, stereotypes of a certain group or whatever they're trying to define you as. So by attributing that negative qualities to you, they no longer see you as an individual. This is what was used in our war that caused the death of so many Mandingo people, so many Gio people, so many Mano people. We saw the bodies strewn out just before 1990. We used to wake up in the morning and see bodies lying out, and we found out they were of a particular ethnic group. When the war started, we saw the reverse. We saw that people attacking down. The Crowns were under attack. The Mandingos were under attack. All this is a strategy to take away the humanity of a person, so you can look at them at this, you demonize them, and they are no longer you no longer see the humanity of them, but you see those bad attributes that they try to put on this group and associate you with that group, so it can easily hate you. It's easy to hit somebody by assimilation.
Right.
It's hard to hit somebody.
And if you go a step backward, before 1980, right, we heard very derogatory songs like Native Woman Born Sawyer, Congo Woman Born Rogue, right? So, and Jimmy, to say, because in order to hit the president, and like what he said, you have to put them in a category so that you don't no longer look at them as human beings, as your classmates, as people on the same football team, but you put them in a category so that when you are targeting them or when you are killing them, you feel no remorse, you feel you're not sad again, because that's not human being.
That's right. It's been used all around. Before 1980, they used some of that term to say, "Oh, they man, a countryman," so they wouldn't give him a certain position in job. When I turned around, and when it turned around after 1980, anybody could be attacked if they were called men, because they were now the target of the hate. So we as people must identify when this technique or this strategy is being used, because it is intended so you do not see a person as an individual, but rather an abstract that they're trying to identify that person so you can simply hate them without considering the person as a human being.
Eston, you follow our social media. These days, the words we hear now on social media, and tell me, maybe I hate speech or not, we hear people that are being categorized, Congo, or sometimes they say elite or intelligentsia elite, sedition, or government people. You have other words like opposition, southeasterners, Decembrists. Talk to me about those. We're on a social media platform, and how do they affect, and what has journalists and
I think those words they are there for.
Yeah, go ahead. What can we do as people that are on this social media platform to guard against them or to call people out?
Yeah, there is something we call tone. When you speak to somebody, it depends on your tone. I can say, "Give me, my brother, come," and I can say, "Give me, come." That tone, the very same word I said, but in different tone, that how it will be interpreted. So let's get back to where Gaiman left off when he was talking. I want to revert to the Prince Johnson era because I'm a huge proponent of our power being distributed, but we cannot be ignorant of the fact that even the great United States of America, there's a state that have a lot more presidents hailing from that state than other state in the entire 50 states of the U.S. of A, which happen to be Virginia. There are more presidents out of Virginia than any state in the United States. So the same for our country in terms of the Southeast. We Southeasterners, we've of late presented a lot of presidents, and I think in that tune, Mr. Prince Johnson, who happened not to be from the Southeast, was speaking about, but I think you were a little bit brash and a little bit harsh with his choice of words because you cannot say never. Same thing like somebody like my own big brother, Len Eugene Nagbe. I think he had a poor discretion when he chose to say when they win the election, nobody from the UP camp will ever they will all work with them. I mean, those are things that you say and you regret because we have something called conscience. So having established that, yeah, we have to be careful with how we use words. Like the same thing we're saying, words tend to be hateful words and resonate with people for the rest of their lives. Somebody cannot be mourning the loss of their loved one, say hypothetically the incident in St. Peter Lutheran where the people were killed from a particular tribe, and then they're discussing it, and you come there thinking, trying to downplay their feelings. You have to be empathetic. If we're going to build a country of reconciliation, we have to be empathetic towards those kind of things, irrespective of your side, irrespective of where you find yourself on a political divide. You have to just empathize with people, and then we see ourselves ready and willing to build a better country. If we don't do that, if we keep being divisive in our utterances, will only tear up our nation more. But if somebody is headed in that direction, you checkmate them and be like, look, my brother, there's no reason why we should be at this time of our dispensation, we should be discussing divisiveness. We should be uniting our forces, bringing ourselves together under one umbrella to move this country ahead, because this is all we have as Liberians. That's why you see those are all who are in the diaspora. We are so passionate about airing our views on this issue. We are not physically in Liberia right now, but Liberia is all we have. Because of those reasons, we spend endless hours discussing our country. So it's all unity going forward. That's the only way we'll get our country on its right footing.
Mr. Gaiman, what Mr. Gaiman has a talk show host yourself. What should we do?
Well,
and let me preface that by saying, because a lot of people who watch these shows, they are mainly partisan when they come to watch your show and you are not speaking their language, they leave. They go to a show that are saying the same thing, so they feel good. So even if all of them are on that show and they are bashing an ethnic group or a certain group of people is all fun.
Yes, and to when you are speaking for those of us who are, I don't know, we consider our pro women, or those who are enlightening a little bit on gender-based violence, we tend to, even in our private life joking, we tend to stay away from certain topics like gender-based violence and all of these stuff. But I, for one, was shocked that a friend of mine who is a registered nurse at a renowned hospital in New Jersey called me to a show where they were degrading women. And this woman introduced me to Prophet Key. She said, Jerome, you have never watched Prophet Key? I said, no. She said, you have to watch it. You will like him. And then I called her back. I said, how can you invite me to sit with you? And this man is so vile. And this is pure gender-based violence. And she said, oh, that's my man. I sent him contribution. So here we are, the audience. We are saying, like you said, those of us who have a distaste, and we're saying that we are proponent of women's rights and our girls, gender-based violence. And then you had the audience. Prophet Kim, so will tell you that the majority of his audience are women, those that send him the biggest gift, bought him cars, and these are women. So sometimes we have to sit back and say, what is going on with us here? We are doing like you. You will checkmate me, you will checkmate everybody else. That you can say this, you can say that. But then you go on a show that is basically no holds bar, and the audience, when this guy start cussing women, the audience, when he said, I need 1,000 people before I start cussing, the next thing you knew, he got 1,500, and he said, let's go to 2,000, and majority of them women, and he cussing. So sometimes I wonder to myself, do we have a psychological scar or something emotionally wrong with us that we fall in that category of, when you put NPR and Jerry Springer together side by side, everybody picks Jerry Springer and they leave National Public Radio. So is that where we are now, that when you put FOL and Prophet Key, all the women will shift toward Prophet Key because that is what they want to hear? So it's a conundrum, Mr. Giles. Sometimes it is tempting. You're doing the best, you put your research into this, you discuss it, you got professional people discussing the idea. And the folks say, man, listen, Prophet Key is on. I will come back to you. Well, let me go to Prophet Key. So you wonder what have our society come to. So I don't know.
Let me add to that. You know, we have our individual preferences. There are certain things that we naturally like. Like me, I like ipambara or kasauli, and some people would rather fufu and soup or gigba. Okay, we have our own preferences. And when we're hearing things that we want to hear, that's why we side with those preferences. When we're hearing things, vulgarity being used, some people, their nature allows them to appreciate that kind of speech. Some people love to hear hate speech. Some people love to hear the denigrating some other people. They love it because it makes them feel better somehow. White supremacy, people they love to hear people denigrating other people of color. That's what they ascribe to. So they turn on the channel where they can hear that. So it shouldn't be surprising to us. This thing permeates even our faith, our religious beliefs. It permeates all categories. Some people will want to hear negative things about a religion that they don't even know or understand, and so they naturally gravitate to where they can hear that negativity and dehumanize a whole group of people who have their own faith, who are human just like us ourselves, and conduct themselves much in the same way. This is a tool that has been used over and over by politicians Politicians know they're one of those people who capitalize on this thing, and other types of people who want to gain favor, negative favor. Some would argue that's how Trump got his momentum, by appealing to people who ascribe to that kind of beliefs and
Thank you, Jimmy. So last week on this platform, we're carrying on one of these debates, and one of the panelists said something that I, as the head of this team, felt that it was a form of...
Say it, CEO.
The person described the Quran as a hateful book, and we've seen that Christians and Muslim world around the world have been around these kind of languages, describing Quran or describing the Bible. And the person also went on to say, in other words, in what I, in my view, saw that a justification of what is going on in Gaza. In these wars, a lot of lives have been destroyed, and we do not justify the loss of even one human being, let alone 1,000 or 20,000. So for someone to come on, focus on Liberia and say people that are being killed and say in let me paraphrase, is sweet for them, that's hateful. And we condemn such, and we don't want to be associated with this kind of speeches. Talking about religion and death, the death of one human being, whether it's being carried out in Gaza or in Israel or in Nigeria, we do not think that any human being should die in that manner. So hate speech, we will not condone that here on Focus on Liberia. Even categorizing ethnic groups or some segment of our population, putting them in a category and using Jimmy's definition so that we cannot recognize their human dignity or their human beingness, that would not fly with us here. And so we encourage all our viewers and our
here's something I don't understand.
Yeah,
it's something I don't understand though. In this entire world, anywhere a dark-skinned person goes, it don't matter what the religion is, it don't matter what the continent is, it is he or she is looked down on the worst. So it surprises me when I found my brother or my sister advocating hatred of any group, knowing very well if you were to go in that group, they will spit on you. But yet you think it's justifiable to support their hatred for another. We who have been the worst affected by hatred in this world. I think we've been more hated than Jews have not been hated as much as Black people have been hated in this world. We have been the most diversely, negatively affected by hatred in this world, not because we did anything to anybody, but simply because they demonized us in this way. So we must be careful never to fall victim for another man's plot. Because like I said before, politicians and various groups use these techniques to gather support for the evil and doctrines that they want to launch against somebody else. We have to be very careful that we embrace ourselves no matter where we come from. We have to realize that these same techniques and tools are constantly being used against us, and we should never advocate for it to be used against anybody else.
Thank you. Our next topic, which is the last topic, is what is going on at the Capitol building, where we see staffers of the Senate, they are protesting. They issue blockade. They say you can't come here because this extra sitting by the Senate, you are getting paid. We too need to get paid. Today was day 2, and there were some clashes because Yeah, other groups who don't agree with what they are doing. They believe to be seditions. And they say, we're not with you and we're going to fight.
Dennis, you frozen?
Do you work at the legislature yet?
I do not need a work to the national
I just asked you a question. I'm asking you for a picture.
I don't need a work because I'm not going to. A member of EFL is stopping me. So sorry.
Esther, what do you make of what's going on at the Senate there, at the Capitol building? Are those staffers, are they right?
It's you know, our country. Well, like the gentleman that was just shown on the screen, you could hear him clearly state that I do not work here, but equally so, I can still come here and join the voices of those who are protesting. But yes, my issue, there's a fundamental issue here. I listened to outgoing Senator coming in, we said, a long time serving son of the soil, speak on national TV today, and he's you know, those people, they sound so confident when they talk, and they come and get buttressed by their colleagues who will kind of side with it. Yeah, here's the hypothetical case. How can you guys be comfortable coming to work for one day? Wellington G. Von Smith, a guy who I believe strongly was a journalist, he's now in the House serving as a senator. This guy comes up and they know the law protects them with these. Some of the laws are so repugnant. I cannot fathom why are there still laws today in this day and age. In the great United States of America, you're not going to work for one day and they pay you for 1 month. This guy sat down and relaxed in his seat, told us that the government, they can work for one day when they are recalled by the president, which they call their overtime. And they can work for one day and get paid for a month period. That means if their pay is 7,000 United States dollars for a month, if they work for one extra day because they were recalled for a sitting, they get paid another $7,000. Can you just think about that? And these guys, to pay the ordinary staffers is always an issue. So one would say, look, since you all earn all this hefty sum of money, you may as well just pay the downtrodden who pay have already been harmonized a lot in a lot of instances, and then you all can think about the top, because at the top you all make such a exuberant, flashy amount of money, and it's unfortunate that when the people speak for their money, my brother, I'm telling you, I cannot live in a society that is not structured that I will work and don't get paid. That is unfortunate, and those people deserve the rights. I know people saying there's not a proper channel, they should take it to the court, whatever the case may be, but the end goal is when someone work, they should earn their pay, and they earn their pay, they should receive it appropriately. If you all are getting paid, these people should get paid. I know they say they don't get paid, but we know how the politics play out. They could get paid, and the people could be, in the layman term, they could be screwed. They could go with all their wages. But if someone work diligently, they should receive their befitting pay. That's my take on this whole issue.
Mr. Gaiman.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jerome.
No, Eastman, go ahead. You want to jump in? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was very strange today that I was listening to one show, one platform, and they had a senator or representative on that platform. And their argument was that they expected the chief executive to initiate the reduction of salaries and compensation to the legislative branch. And I was surprised. I said, but isn't the legislative, don't they determine their own salaries? Does that have to be initiated by the chief executive? Because if you imagine what these guys get as compensation and allowances, and I don't know what that other 60,000 they get for community development. All these things they get, and then they want to also be compensated when they ask them to come back to work. But then instead of they taking the initiative to reduce their salaries, knowing that we cannot afford it, they say they need the chief executive to do it. I think that's a cop-out. I think because they benefit from it, that's why we do not see any one of them advocating for a reduction in their compensation, because they want to continually receive it. And if any protest I would do, I would protest against the exorbitant compensation they get. They get gaslit, they get vehicles every 2 or 3 years, they get all kinds of allowances. It is as if they've been compounding their benefits, because at one point in time they didn't have cars, so they get in gas slips. Then they're giving them cars, but they didn't take away the gas slips. Then they keep on giving and compiling these, and no, it has never been addressed. And when you consider that our budget, 90% or so is just for recurrent expenses, you would think they care about the country. I think this is a clear indication of whether they actually care about the country or not. And if we don't make a serious ratification of this imbalance that we give to these people that we elect to serve us, then we will continually be in an abyss, because they are clearly do not seek the country's best interest.
Jerome, why is this happening? And what we also see is nobody is willing to change it, right? Every time we have elections and people are coming to power, nobody talks about salaries, nobody talk about term limits, everybody want to keep this system the same so that they can benefit from it.
Well, this is what Liberia is, and we have said this over and over. For anyone to sit here and tell you that they will change the system, they are lying to you. The thing here is that they are in, we want them out so we can get in, and then we take over while they take over until somebody gets us out. And I said this in particular, I'm talking about 2003, when I met at Monrovia College, Dr. G. Franklin Holt called me, and the late Bronsky, he wanted me to support the late Bronsky's presidential bid. So we met in his office on the second floor at Monrovia College, and I asked Mr. Bronsky, I said, Honorable Bronsky, I would love to support you, but I have a special interest. He said, what is it? I said, I want you to do the best you can to change the unitary system in this country. The unitary system that makes the president an imperial president, so we can have some quasi-federal system where we do revenue sharing. He looked me in the face and said, Jerome, I understand what you are saying. He said, honor me. The unitary system will work the way it's supposed to work. So this tells me exactly what you are saying. Everybody hates it, but they want it. They want they to be in charge. I spoke to Besson Gafile's office. Who pays your Senate staff? Who pays your staff? The staffer of the legislative body are not on government payroll. They are not being paid by the executive. It is in the budget of the Senate or the representative. So they give you a pot of money that you're supposed to pay your staff. And then there are certain piece that goes to civil servant and all of that. But the majority of your Senate staff money comes from the executive. It's in the budget. It goes to your office. Your office takes that money and disburses it to all your staff. So they are actually, what you see over there, even more political, like you saw the gentleman say, he from the EFFL or EFL. So he is not an employee. He joined there because it's a political in nature. And the folks who are defeated, that are leaving, they are supporting these boys to protest when they are not being honest. That listen, I was senator for 9 years. Your money have been in my budget. I have not paid you. When you come to me for your pay, I will tell you the executive have not given us enough money. So whatever I got, I pay myself first. And what is left over, you are in a deficit. You go to the executive. So this is what we are talking about, the hypocrisy. The system needs to be changed. Everybody promises to change the system, but they never do. And I spoke to my own brother. He was on my show here, Darrell Dillon. Darrell Dillon, are you going to support the referendum so we can cut down the pay, the length of presidential service and all of that? He told me on FOL, you were here. He said, no. He said, this is a trick. George Weah wants to prolong his term in office, so we're going to deny and kill the entire bill. I said, you're not even doing line item. That means the one that you like, for you to vote for that one, let it pass. He said, no, they will kill the entire bill. When he gets there, he will introduce a new bill that will be better than the referendum. So you see what we are talking about. These people say these things. Do they actually mean it? No. Do they have anything in mind to change it? No. So the legislative people over there, I feel sorry for them. It's the only job they got. They don't have any other redress. You saw in the beginning, Mr. Pompom set himself ablaze.
Yeah.
Set himself on fire to protest it, and they went to the Supreme Court Chief Justice. The justices themselves, they are not paying their staffers. So, Mr. John, if I had the answer, then I think I would be the wisest man. I would go and play the lotto. But for what I'm looking at here, we have been singing this song. Not only Joe, we are turned down. We sang this song early time. We sang it, and after January 22nd, we're going to be singing the same song. Nobody is coming up with a solution. It has to be legislative. We're not talking about executive power or this guy said. It has to be put into law, and nobody is willing to introduce a law that will say staffer now should be Civil 7. They should be on the payroll of the government because they don't want to keep these people around. When Dennis Weah wins, he fires everybody in our office and brings his own people. So you see, this is what's going on there. Should these people be Civil 7, where they are professional staff, no matter who comes, they will serve? They say no. They want it to be partisan. If a citizen coming, he bring all citizens. When he leave with all his citizens. In that way, we're not getting anywhere.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Friday Night Debate. If you want to be part of the conversation, the number is on the screen. 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. We'll take a short 30-second break. When we come back, we're going to bring on our first caller. All right, let's bring on our callers here. The first caller is Flomo Livingston. Flomo, you're live. How are you, sir?
Yeah, hello?
Hello, Flomo?
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you. Great show, great analysis. I mean, that is, for me, his speech is not good, but during the election for me, everyone was included. Once they're talking bad about your party or who you support, bad thing, for example, in his speech, telling someone, oh, the person would die because the person is sick, the person in the hospital, the person, for me, it's a history because of the person is, and if the person is sick, the person will die wishing death on someone because you don't want the person to be a president. That's his speech. The citizen will say, oh, why can't be hanging out with criminal like Stanton? I agree. But at the same time, they're supporting Fernando Kufa to be Speaker of the House. That's a hypocrisy. I mean, once someone is on your side, you don't see anything wrong with that. But you push your hate because you don't like the other person. And the staff for me is you pay the people, Dennis. It's easy. How will someone work and you don't want to pay them? How will you feel if someone work and, for example, you in America where you work and they don't pay you? You're not going to like it. So pay the people because they know after the 9 or after the 10, the same people, most of them will not be coming back and won't get paid. So they have to block until they get paid before they can do the confirmation. If you want to do the confirmation, pay the people then. The whole thing will be solved. But I think the ASP stopped doing the election. It was very bad. I mean, for all political parties, people from the Southeast should not be president no more, or people from, college, what is his name, Paul Johnson, this and all that, and other different parties. Everyone was included. And I think we should start doing that, but I don't know if we'll continue doing that. Because you get people saying GMB was like this and like that. So hopefully, we can learn for that, but I don't think we'll stop, Dennis.
Thank you, Flomo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's bring on Hassan Kone. Hassan, you're live.
Yeah, Dennis, thanks for taking my call and good evening to your panelists. Well, I mean, the last call, or I would say Flomo or whatever it is and stuff like that, is being dishonest, and that's one of our problems. So let me just kick off with this. This is thing, right? During the election, I watched a lot of people on this platform, right, call people Congo, say, oh, what if that took the Congo ticket, and they can be president, the country belongs to the native people, or whatever it is and stuff. Aliyu Kamara made those points throughout the time, and he defended it, even when Mr. Eastman decided to push back, right, on those ideas. And we do it, they don't even know what they're doing. It's like a white person saying, oh, we can't vote for the person because you're black, right? And so forth. So that's the problem. People do it when it benefits them. And now that everything goes up, so people will kind of say, oh, it's on both sides. No, it's not. They were the ones who keep peddling those things and stuff like that. As far as this, the free speech thing, yeah, people have a free speech. You have the freedom of speech to do pretty much anything, basically, to say anything and stuff. In this country, even though it's wrong, anybody can call anybody the N-word, right? So basically, society could punish you for it, your job could punish you for it, or industry you work for have policy against those things. But when it comes to your rights, you have the right to say those things and stuff like that. And then you guys touch on defamation, right? Those are civil cases. People don't go to jail for defamation, right? I mean, somebody says something against you, and you can, and it costs you to lose money. It costs you to lose like things of monetary value. Yeah, you can sue them and get some of your money back and get some of those money back. We saw it with Fox News and stuff like that. But people don't go to jail for defamation. So the fact that he was even arrested was wrong.
What if you don't pay? What they fine you?
Well, then you don't pay. I mean, you have to sue the person for what it is you can get from them. If they fine you for $20 million and stuff like that, and you don't have the $20 million, well, you're just going to be owing $20 million until you have it. So you don't go to jail for those things and stuff. So the journalists that have never been arrested, I guess in like right now is the thing when people make statements that other people don't like, and they say, oh, you lie on me, so I'm okay to jail. This is wrong. And we shouldn't start practicing that, especially against journalists. The people should be free to say basically, especially journalists should be free to say and report on things. You shouldn't be threatening people with defamation. If you want to sue the journalists, it's a civil case. Take them to the civil court and sue them for whatever it is you think that you lost, or whatever defamation of their character, or whatever damage is done to your character. And so they shouldn't be getting arrested. I guess the people back home don't know how to go about those things. And so, but thank God the journalist was free. So free speech prevailed in this case again. This thing with like I said, this Congo native thing. Dennis, you got to beat on this thing with our people. People shouldn't be freely. I mean, people freely express this thing, right? And they don't even think about it. Like I said, Aliyu Kamara is guilty of this, right? He's been saying this throughout the election, and he thought he was making some valid points, or he thought he was making sense when he said those things. He didn't know that it was hateful towards people of Congo descent. I don't even know if we have Congo people in the country anymore, right? And like I said, Mr. Eastman made those points or tried to make those points, but people and he kept pushing back and saying, "Oh, well, you can't have Congo tickets because Charlene Bronsky is a Congo and Cummins is a Congo, so we can't have Congo tickets. We need Native people. The country belongs to Native people and stuff like that." So, I mean, so far that's my 2 cents. I was trying to get involved. No, and one more thing. The problem with us, with Liberia, I would say, Dennis, is with our educated class. And I would tell this on Mr. Gaiman, you can't learn. We can't come into this country. We learn all those things and see these people system, and then when it's going against us, then we defend it. Mr. Gaiman defended CDC for 6 years, even though the things that we're doing was wrong because it personally benefited him or however way in which it benefited him. He defended it, right? But he deep down, he knows those things was wrong. But like I said, there's no intrinsic morality, right? People, we can come and say all the things, but our actions. So, seeing Mr. Gaiman actions and defending those things over the years and stuff like that, like it's just to say that we're not going anywhere because somebody else.
And you said Mr. Gaiman was benefiting from the CDC.
I mean, I don't know in which way. I don't know in which way he was benefiting, but apparently he was, because he was defending those things, defending drugs via action, defending Samuel Quest action, and stuff like that. So, like I said, we're running a banana republic. We have laws, but nobody follows it.
Thank you. Thank you. Give me what do people give you, man?
I did. What is it? 18,000 a month. That's a good amount of money.
All right, but gentlemen, those are the callers now. I think we can wrap it up. You can give your closing comments, say anything you want to respond to the callers, and then we can give your closing comments. Mr. Gaiman, go ahead, sir.
Yes, one of the things that I like about Focus on Liberia, at the beginning of our show, we say we do not speak for Focus on Liberia and its management. Whatever we say here is our opinion, and we are responsible for it. So FOL cannot be held liable for what I say or what Jimmy say. We are actually an opinionated show. When folks come on here, yes, FOL had drawn a line when it comes to sexism, when it comes to racism, tribalism, sectionalism, religionism. Those are things that we say in our social science politics. They say 2 things we shouldn't discuss: politics and religion. Religion we will not discuss on Focus on Liberia, but politics, that's what this is all about. So you make the exception. One of those things we will not discuss, but one we live on. Without politics, I, for one, will not be on FOL because that's why we are here. So anyone who comes out here, I know I have had a lot of pushback about Mr. Alio Kamara and his utterances and all of that. We push back to, and we call him Savalione, we call him alien. But it is not his speech when you are targeting one person, when you talk to this person. But when you make it a group of people, when you use a wide, like the American people, a broad brush, and you say these people, like Mr. Jai was saying, if you offend Muslim because they are, 2 billion of them, or Christian, 2 billion, 2.5 billion of them, black people, they are basically 70% of the world is black, and you say the black people should not be this, they shouldn't be that, like Mr. Eastman just said. We are the most, besides women, the black people are the most discriminated against group of people on earth from time immemorial. Women are number 1, and we are number 2. Even within our black race, we suppress and denigrate women even more. So yeah, women are the most suppressed people. Next to them are the dark-skinned people. So what we are saying here is, when we are here, I think it is Focus on Liberia. We say we are here to educate. What is it, Mr. Jawa? What is the more?
Elevate and promote.
There you go. We are here to educate and promote all things Liberia and morality. So we push back against each other. I argue with Mr. Dennis Jai, the CEO. He pushes back. But this is where the free speech comes in. And we learn from it. Are we perfect here? No. Do we make mistakes? Yes. Do we correct ourselves? Yes. We bend, but we don't break. This is what this platform is all about. So when someone comes out here and someone gets offended and we don't discuss it as a group, as a people. I think Mr. We said talking about reconciliation and our folk. This is what this is all about. Our job is to agree and disagree with each other, but at the end of the day, we have the ability to come together and say we were wrong or you were wrong, and then we are family. So, Mr. John, thank you very much for laying out the boundaries. When someone crosses that, we say, you know, this is it without suppressing free speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Francis said you're still forcing, but when it comes to Basa, you're in it. So we said you're closing.
Well, firstly, I want to say a very spirited show, Mr. Jai. Thank you for a full opportunity. And like I alluded earlier, it's all about how we can forge ahead as a nation. We've passed the stage of campaigning. We've passed the stage of denigrating one another. At least in my mind, we should be trying to move our country forward. Because if you ask me, in my purview, a post-war Liberia, we've made some pretty harsh decisions, and that is incumbent upon the fact that when you look at our country's literacy rate, there's no secret that we found ourselves where we are today. Like, it's no secret we have less than 50% of our populace being literate, and that's a hardcore fact that we have to live with. So some of our decisions after the war have been tough, like we made ex-rebel, and everyone knows the denotative meaning of a rebel, a president. We turned Charter into a president, and we went on to a very educated lady who are being in advocacy, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. In my estimation, she underperformed. Granted, she was the first elected female president of the continent. I think she was giving a lot, and she did not live up to what she received, considering we were coming out of a prolonged civil upheaval. So I think the international community really gifted her a lot of funds that she did not do the job befitting for that office. In any case, we went on from her to President George. We are a man who came to prominence through sports, but he became a president, and we saw how, when someone like myself, I knew he could not make a good president because I just followed his track record. He had a sports platform. He did not do the best with it. This man was a captain and technical director of Lone Star degenerated right before our eyes. The team was so divided when he was technical director between his group and the other group. He had a sports store. We can't find it anywhere today. I mean, a plethora of things we could go on naming. So I think going forward, beginning with Ambassador Bwaka, we should allow him to lead the country and be supportive of Ambassador Bwaka, because George Weah, by my estimation, is not coming back to presidency if the government performs. And what else do you want? Do you want a country to fail, or you want your country to succeed? We all are here for our country to succeed. So let's do what is appropriate. Let's stand with our country. Let's point out the ills. I'm telling you, I support Ambassador Bwaka, but when I see him going wrong, I will be very vocal. I've said it. I was vocal against George Weah's government. I'm going to be a lot more vocal when things do not go wrong under a government that I supported. I think that's patriotism. Love for country should demand us to put our country first. Like I said to you in the back, Mr. John, my love for sports or my love for George Weah as an IE fan should not supersede the love for country. I say again, always, long live our common patrimony in Liberia. As we grow in age, it remains my ardent hope that we'll grow in wisdom as a country.
Thank you. Jimmy, you're closing.
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing these topics up today, Job, because they're important. Because we have to recognize what our enemies are. Okay, and one way of doing that is to live by a code of ethics that you will not repeat. And one of those is allow somebody to label somebody else so we can discriminate against them. That has been used from time immemorial. We should never encourage it. All that they did it a lot during the elections, but that thing is a two-edged sword. Yeah, you're cutting that man today, but tomorrow it will cut you the same way because it can be used against you the same way. The other thing we shouldn't condone is anything illegal or corrupt, not because this is you benefiting from it means it's all right. Our whole system is ref with wrongdoings, wrong practices, and we can't get it right. And the reason being because you are benefiting from it now, it makes it all right. Until we agree to live by a certain code that applies across the board in every instance. I think Sam Wallow made a good mention here. He said in Rwanda, even if you talk tribalism, you will be arrested. We know that this is one of our ills. So to prevent this ill from affecting you, just like any disease, either you inoculate everybody against that disease, or you stamp out the disease itself. Until we uproot these things from in our midst and never allow anyone to use it, whether you're on my side or on that side, then we will never get it right. So the enemies, labeling people to discriminate against them, corruption in any form by cousin, brother, or sister, all these things, we have to live by a code. That will make Liberia go steadily because we are smart people, but we're not using a code that will benefit everybody all the time.
Jimmy, I hope you're not freezing. Thank you, Jimmy. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for the show tonight. I want to thank our viewers. Join us tomorrow for the Liberia History Channel at 7 o'clock. We'll be here with part 2 on our history, the history of our culture. 4 p.m., the unapologetic and unabashed sedition will be here to host On Point, debating trending political issues. Until then, we close with our song that says,
Mr. We said you are welcome on Sunday.
We are all Liberians. Have a good night, guys, and God bless you.
We are Liberians.